Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for choosing Mukwa Times. Now, I have done videos before, about 2 weeks ago, and there are some things that I stressed on. I said that William Ruto has already exhausted all the avenues that he had in relation to winning an election in 2027. Let's talk of money, let's talk of mobilization, let's talk of use of Matiang'i. I talked of so many methods that he has done, and all of them were not successful. Now, there's one method that he was left with, banking on the opposition mistakes. Now, as we speak today, when I try to listen and engage people here at Mukwa Times, in fact, I also hold the shows at from 10 to 11, and I hear how people reason when it comes to William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, and also the entire opposition politics. So far, as we speak, people have started changing their mindset in relation to William Ruto, meaning that the opposition has made some mistakes. On this particular video, allow me to take you through on some of the mistakes that the opposition have made, which have resulted to William Ruto gaining some ground as we speak today. But before I do so, kindly, if this is the first time you're watching my videos at Mukwa Times, please take a second or two, subscribe, like, and comment, because that is the best support you can always give this channel. Without much wasting of time, allow me to dive into this topic here today. The first mistake that the opposition did is to abandon the youth. People assumed the role of the youth during the 2024 June demonstrations. Let me tell you, for those who are not part of these demonstrations, that the spirit of taking William Ruto home started at that time. Most of these generations were quiet. They don't understand probably what to do at that point, but the youth came out and showed the country that they can do it. William Ruto was so tense until he went for Raila Amolo Odinga. These people were tribalists. So William Ruto did not have an option other than later on the abduction that we saw, the extrajudicial killings that occurred, the arrests, and many other things that occurred. But when it comes to the politics of this country, all boundaries were broken and William Ruto did not have an option. Now the opposition took up and decided William Ruto must go as well. So they forgot that the people who started this particular journey were the youth. So as we speak today, the youth are abandoned. If you check in the opposition arrangement, the youths are not considered. When you listen to the messaging, the youths are not considered. When you listen to the way they are planning their things, the youth are nowhere to appear. So which means they abandoned them and forgot that these are the owners of that cause who need to take lead. There's no initiative from the opposition right now that can say we have the ability that let the youth take lead. Nobody. That's why nobody in the opposition can mobilize as the youth mobilized themselves in June 2024. Nobody. And no one can be able to shake William Ruto like they did. Nobody can bring those numbers in Nairobi. Nobody can right now dare step in parliament like the youth did, simply because they have been abandoned. When you abandon the youth, William Ruto is rejoicing that now the strength of energy, the energy of the opposition has gone down because the youth are the energy. The second mistake that was made in the opposition, it is Matiang'i joining the Jubilee Party. You know, the decision of Matiang'i joining the Jubilee Party was not to manage William Ruto, but to manage Rigathi Gachagua. So Matiang'i literally assumed William Ruto and considered Rigathi Gachagua. So as we speak today, William Ruto is yet to start attacking. But the fact remains, Matiang'i is so vulnerable if he goes with the Jubilee Party to the ballot. I know at some point he might change things, probably have a coalition, which is very possible and okay. But if he goes direct to the Jubilee Party to the ballot, then there's a likelihood that Matiang'i will not make it in terms of trying to convince people that he's a better candidate than William Ruto. Because William Ruto, first of all, is half of Jubilee. When Jubilee was being formed, he brought the half of which was URP, and Uhuru Kenyatta brought the other half, that was the TNA party. So in a nutshell, the making of Jubilee Party is simply half of William Ruto. So these people are people who know how to finish and create and even demolish Jubilee completely. And when it comes to the mistakes that happened during the Uhuru Kenyatta's time, they are the ones that made William Ruto become the president in 2022. So the same mistakes still are remembered by the people of Kenya. So it's easy for William Ruto to attribute some of these mistakes to Dr. King of Fred Matiang'i. So that is another mistake that the opposition made. So William Ruto in his chambers, when he's seated, he was like, yeah, they have done exactly what I wanted. So Dr. King of Fred Matiang'i, could he have gone and come up with another party branded well, national party? He could have scared William Ruto because he's coming as a brand new person. But now, with the Jubilee baggage, slightly things are not good. The other reason as to why William Ruto was also smiling from Dr. King of Fred Matiang'i joining the Jubilee Party, it's also because of the division that occurred. Once Matiang'i joined the Jubilee Party, there was some division that occurred in Mount Kenya, more especially in relation to Rigathi Gachagua's lieutenants, where they felt like now Uhuru Kenyatta has come to rival the DCP party. As we speak today, Dr. King of Fred Matiang'i and Rigathi Gachagua are not okay. We have to admit here today. So that is also another weakness that William Ruto has identified, and now he's smiling. And in a nutshell, you saw what happened in Mbeere North. All the allies of the opposition, except those few who went to Mbeere North, stepped aside and allowed Rigathi Gachagua to deal with William Ruto. Eventually, what happened? They lost an election. That takes me to the next mistake that the opposition did, losing the by-elections. These people were to ensure at all costs that they have protected their votes. But to some extent, they made some mistakes, which resulted to what we call weaknesses that made William Ruto to win those elections. Whether through rigging or not, those elections were not supposed to be won. They were supposed to protect them seriously. So the opposition lost those elections. If you check, for instance, in the case of Malava, in Malava, when the team of opposition was supposed to come together and protect the votes, they abandoned Seth Panyako. He was alone, crying here, right, left, and center, while elections were being stolen, if they were stolen. And when you look at what happened to George Natembeya, he disappeared at some point. Eugene Wamalwa, you all know that Eugene Wamalwa, there's nothing could have done significant at that point. Who had money in that particular campaign? It is George Natembeya. The moment he disappeared, everything else came to a standstill. So that is how they could not protect their votes, in case the allegations that are coming on board that there was rigging and stuff are true. So by losing these by-elections, the opposition appeared to be weak, and William Ruto to be strong. And William Ruto has gained some ground because of these by-elections. People are now starting the conversation that it's not possible to beat William Ruto in 2027. People are now seeing that Rigathi Gachagua is weak, which is not the ideal thing for opposition as we speak today, because Rigathi Gachagua was key in that particular team. The other mistake that the opposition team is making right now are the utterances that are being made by some of their leaders. The first one is this one of Rigathi Gachagua.
Sisi tumepangana vizuri na kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye ndiye amekuwa akisaidia ODM hapa Nairobi. Tumekubaliana kiti cha gavana kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha seneta kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha women rep kitachukuliwa na DCP.
Now, when Rigathi Gachagua comes on board and says they have divided the seats of Nairobi, which means it rejuvenates the issues to do with what we call shares. Now, people have started remembering the shares that were being talked of when he was in government, which is not ideal at this point. Remember, one of the things that has prevented Rigathi Gachagua to be a national leader, it is the story of shares. That is the worst mistake that he made while he was in government. Even if there were shares, he was not supposed to be loose and say about anything about them. But now, he has again started talking about dividing the seats of Nairobi. Now, these kind of utterances have brought to what you call alienation. Those people in opposition, like now the lawyers, the Kambas, some people have started feeling like they are being alienated from the opposition by Rigathi Gachagua. And the conversation is changing across. People are now saying, if this is how Gachagua is doing things, then we rather support William Ruto. That is the scenario that is on the ground right now. So the opposition have portrayed themselves like they are no longer concerned with what the people want, but what the Gachagua, Kalonzo want. So the opposition as well has portrayed a picture that they are no longer concerned with what the youth had in mind. They are no longer concerned except just winning the seats. They have completely decided to ignore the other political players within the opposition, which is the best thing that William Ruto can be able to see within the opposition side. So this means very well, ladies and gentlemen, William Ruto is gaining ground. He's seeing so many weaknesses. He even doesn't know right now where to hit because there are so many avenues he can be able to explore. The other mistake that the opposition did is to completely rely on the Mount Kenya region. The potential flag bearers, Kalonzo, Matiang'i, all of them showed that for them to win an election in 2027, they have to focus on Mount Kenya. That's why you see Dr. Kengo Fred Matiang'i always there. You always see Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka working together, which means that Kalonzo Musyoka knows he only needs Gachagua for him to get the Mount Kenya votes and then win an election. But now William Ruto knew if this is the place they are banking on, then let me first teach them a lesson. He won the by-election of Mbeere North. So already the perception outside there is that Mount Kenya will divide its votes. They might not divide, but the perception has been created, giving William Ruto room for him to do things. Apart from that, Kithure Kindiki has now been elevated, meaning that he can be able to ensure, even if it's Mount Kenya East alone, it gives William Ruto, even if it's 1 million votes. Such kind of a scenario, it's not easy to deal with when it comes to a general election. So William Ruto knew, if they depend on Mount Kenya, let me destroy them from the Mount Kenya region. Now, the other place that was promising was the Western Kenya region. And after now, William Ruto won that by-election. Already the lawyers have now started speaking. These people in Waoga, they are not able to deliver. Just a by-election was difficult. How about a general election? The conversations are so many. I was listening and reading. Personally, I'm actually worried. Last but not least, Kalonzo Musyoka purely depending on Rigathi Gachagua. The moment William Ruto realized that Kalonzo Musyoka is working with Rigathi Gachagua, cannot do campaigns without Rigathi Gachagua, and it's depending on him so much to go to Mount Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, William Ruto realized this is the place to hit. Now, as we speak today, we all know that the person who was a threat to William Ruto in Luo Nyanza, it was Kalonzo Musyoka. Because the moment he went there to campaign and ask for votes, he could get a huge number of votes because he supported Baba thrice, and he gave him huge number of votes from the combined region. So William Ruto knew this was a threat. But the moment Kalonzo Musyoka decided to bank on Rigathi Gachagua fully, only do campaigns with him, and now with this carelessness of Rigathi Gachagua just saying anything at any point, then now there's a possibility that William Ruto will now initiate, actually has even started, initiating enmity between the leaders of Luo Nyanza and those of Ukambani because of Rigathi Gachagua. Now they are saying, until Gladys Wanga came out and said, whoever who is a friend to our enemy is also our enemy. Who is the enemy now? Rigathi Gachagua, the enemy of the people of the Luo Nyanza. And now, ladies and gentlemen, checking from all angles, it is very clear that Kalonzo Musyoka has been caught up in the mix. Now he's also an enemy of the people of Luo Nyanza. And as the way things are going right now, it's going to be very difficult for Kalonzo Musyoka to really get votes from the Luo Nyanza, which is the best thing for William Ruto. Another mistake which is making William Ruto grow. Apart from Luo Nyanza, there was a possibility that Kalonzo Musyoka could be deputized by George Natembeya. Also now, when Rigathi Gachagua makes such mistakes, which appears to be alienating the people of Western Kenya, oh God, as well William Ruto now smiles because Kalonzo Musyoka again does not now gain ground other than just losing it. I don't know what's your take, but in the comment section, please on the comment section, share with me on what you think in relation to the opposition mistakes. Thank you so much for watching.